what would be the one thing that you would leave an audience with? Like, what's one principle or thing that you feel very strongly about from your business career?
It comes directly from Bob Burg's book, The Go-Giver. I mean, give more value than you extract, very simply.
So give more value than you take and pay.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. Like when we started this thing, it was, I don't know, bring me you're tired, you're weary, you're poor. Like whatever situation you're in, we'll help you. Whatever we can do to help, we will do to help. If that means that we're going to manage them, great. If it means I got a call yesterday from somebody who said, I was trying to have my mother-in-law assume the loan on the house that I'm living in so I could live in a different house that we've already moved into, but she doesn't qualify on a DTI. And he said, will you help me rent it? And I said, well, here's another 3 ideas about how you could get your mother-in-law into the house without us renting it. That one house is not going to make or break my year. I'd rather just give somebody my solid experience here about how you can get to your objective without any benefit to myself. Just let's just do what's right by you. And that's how we started this thing. And, that's what makes me feel good.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Big Hitters Podcast. I'm joined by Matt Zalk, who is the founder, president of KeyRenter Property Management, and he owns 7 of their franchises. He has, I believe, from our initial conversation, over 3,000 doors. And so I'm excited to kind of dive into it with him today. Matt, just tell us the story, man. How'd you get into the business and how did we wind up where we are today?
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Andrew. I was living in Dubai. I lived in Dubai from 2011 to 2017. And at the time, because there was no income tax in Dubai and I was subject to the foreign earned income exclusion, which allowed me to not pay the first like $150,000 allow me to not pay tax on the first $150,000 of income that I made there. I was just stacking cash and didn't know what to do with it, and came home one visit to Florida where my grandparents were, and my sister was there, and she said, let's buy houses. And I said, well, I've been thinking about buying houses. So we started buying houses in Boulder and Black Hawk and Broomfield and the areas around Denver. And so she was managing those houses. And then eventually I met my wife, moved back to the United States, moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and started buying more houses, was keen on the business, liked rental properties. Bought an apartment complex, a 58-unit apartment complex as part of a syndicated deal that I led. I was the GP on it, and I was like, we need a system for this. And so found KeyRenter as the right system, started managing those properties, building the business, and kind of the rest is history. So it was really that first. I credit my sister with being the catalyst behind all this, because she was the first person to say, let's go buy something together. And then she managed those first properties for us because I was in Dubai and she was in Boulder.
What were you doing up until the point you were in Dubai? Like, what was your previous life?
I went to school at UC Santa Barbara. I graduated in 2006. I left on a one-way ticket to China. And I spent 3 years kind of traveling the world. So I was teaching scuba diving, making ends meet any way I could, going from spot to spot to spot. So I lived in Thailand for a little bit, was in the Philippines for a while, was in Palau, Micronesia, the Solomon Islands, down into the Red Sea, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, all over Central America. Did a lot of stuff in the Middle East at the time. I was in Syria, like back when it was just, I can't say normal because it was, Bashar Assad was the president, but I was just cruising around Syria and Lebanon, went into the refugee camps. I mean, I was just a dumb kid traveling around and, trying to find cool stuff around the world.
That's so cool. Okay, so you said something earlier, and I guess I'm a financial advisor by trade, so my naivete in the space, forgive me. But so I guess this is a franchise model. So you said they had the right solution for us to do our system. So like, what was it about their model that was so attractive?
I had been speaking with so I spoke to a business advisor and he kind of turned me on to a couple of different business models. I had been working at Property Finder, which is essentially, the simplest way to say it is, it's the Zillow of the Middle East, with offices in Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Qatar and Saudi Arabia and a bunch of spots, Egypt and now Turkey and some other places. And I liked their model for its recurring revenue. And so I knew I wanted to be in a recurring revenue business model. And so I looked at some different things. I don't know, I can't even recall at this point, but old age homes and, a couple of things that I thought that macroeconomically made a lot of sense trend wise. And I spoke to a sales guy for a different franchise, a different property management franchise system. And as part of that conversation, they give you the FDD, the franchise disclosure documents. And at the end of the FDD, it shows all the currently active franchises and franchises that have, for some reason, closed. So I started calling the closed franchises. I thought, well, I better figure out why these people have closed. And someone in that group turned me on to what is KeyRenter. He said, there are other franchise systems that do property management. And I was like, oh yeah, of course I do. And I had no clue. I wasn't that tuned in or dialed in. And so I called KeyRenter and I just said to him, hey, I'm interested in opening up a franchise location. And they walked me through that process. And I felt just much more comfortable with those folks. They're all geographically in the same area. It's just that the sales guy for KeyRenter immediately kind of it just spoke to me more. Their core values, the culture, the fit, it just made a lot more sense. And so when I started digging in, you go to a discovery day and you go to, they ask questions of you and you ask questions of them and start kind of trying to understand whether it's a fit. It just made a lot more sense. The processes made sense. The software they were using made sense. It was really that.
All right. So let's talk about it. So you said it was like 3,200 doors, right? How many are what properties that you own versus properties you manage for someone else?
I don't, we have maybe 80 doors or so. I think maybe 100 doors that are owned in different partnerships. There are probably 25 of them that are owned in a group and are managed by close friends of ours. And so those are not in our portfolio. If there's 60 or 70 that are still in our portfolio, they're managed by Olivia down the hall here. And the rest of them are pure third-party management.
Okay. And then how are people, two questions, how are people finding you? And then what's your value prop to them when you say, hey, here's why you should work with us?
So people are finding us because they have an acute pain point and they're going on Google mostly and saying, what do I do? I need to evict somebody, or maintenance costs are too high, or I don't have time for this. And how do I do a lease, or what do I do with Section 8 tenants? How do I find Section 8 tenants? Whatever. I think people mostly search for us when they are in need. And so we try to answer that. We try to fulfill that need and help them as best we can. They also find us through referrals. We have plenty. We're in a number of doctor networks. So doctors don't have a ton of free time. They're working hard at their primary profession and they make good money and they just want the asset because they like the asset class and they understand depreciation and appreciation and cash flow and principal pay down. For the people that find us, we are a full service property management business. We take care of everything from soup to nuts. So we'll help you buy, renovate, and operate a real estate asset. You don't have to be in town. You don't have to ever see the house. I mean, I haven't seen probably 60, 70% of the houses that I own. We have a team that comes in, they renovate the property. It goes off to another team, to Olivia in my case. And, she leases it and I never hear about it again until there's a unit turn and somebody's moving out. So if you're super busy and you don't want anything to do with it, we'll handle it. If you want to be involved and you want to make a decision about whether we fix a line set that's leaking or an evaporator coil on your HVAC that's leaking or replace it entirely, we'll help you make that decision. We'll give you options and then you can be involved. So it's totally dependent on the client, how much they want to be involved. But our value proposition is we'll do it all. You want to be involved, stay involved. You want to help make decisions? Great. You want to be in Hawaii on vacation for the next 5 years? We'll do it all for you. And kind of all we need is a bank and routing number and an email. And I need to be able to send you money into some account. And I need to be able to ask you critical questions at, infrequent periods.
I like that. Okay. What's going well with your business right now? What's not going so well?
We're in a human business. We're in a business it's complex. There are tons of small decisions to get made, tons of process steps that need to take place. And so it's incumbent upon our property managers to get every step done right and done expediently. If you wait a day between each process, then it takes 3 weeks to get a make ready done. If you line everything up perfectly, it might take a week. So we're just constantly in the process of iterating and making sure that the process works and that people are making good decisions. I mean, I think the biggest problem for any founder is I can make the decision in a couple of seconds. How do I cascade the logic of thought to other people so that they will make a similar decision using similar logic in a huge array of scenarios in, maybe not 10 seconds, but maybe in a minute or 2 or 3, and then take ownership the way I would like it to be taken or the way the property owner would like it to be taken. So I'll tell you an example. If your HVAC goes out, just to use the example we were using before, the last thing I want to see in an email to an owner is, hey, your HVAC is out. What would you like me to do? We're past that. We don't send those emails. But I also don't want to see your HVAC is out. It's going to cost $6,000 to replace it. What I want to see is, hi, your HVAC went out. I sent out a vendor. There's 3 options. We can do 1, 2, or 3. I would recommend option 3 for the following reasons. Let me know if you agree with me. If you do, please fund the account. If you don't, please tell me why, and we'll work towards a better solution in your mind. And if I don't hear from you in a couple of days, this is a critical issue. I'm going to make a decision on your behalf, and we're going to move on. That's like the right approach. And probably the next thing is, what's the question? What's the logical question that the owner is going to ask after I send that email? And let's preemptively answer that question as well. So in an HVAC example, it might be, if I have a leak and we try to find the leak and we, put 5 pounds of refrigerant into the system, when's the next leak going to come? The answer may be we don't have any idea. It could be a year and it could be 10, but let's at least address that question. So getting people, it's a human business. The biggest problem in any business, and our business specifically, is getting people to make the right decisions every time. What's going well, on the other hand, I mean, I think we're fortunate in that we're in a kind of stodgy old business, and we are doing our best to stay at the cutting edge of technology, using artificial intelligence, using just top-notch systems. And that gives us an edge over over some of our competitors. Now, I love my competitors. I'm friendly with a bunch of them in our markets. I don't think they're competitors, but they're not really our competition. Our competition is self-managing owners, self-managing landlords. And so if we're a couple notches above other people in our markets, it still doesn't mean there's not plenty of room for everybody to do business. And it really just means that we've got to convince more self-managing owners that the 10% that we charge is made up for in greater retention, lower maintenance costs, general higher rents and whatever else, that their P&L is going to show better and look better when we manage it than if they do it themselves. And if they take into account the time that they spend doing it, it'll look much, much better.
That's a perfect segue, actually. Right prior, you referenced AI. I'd love to hear how it's shaping your industry and how you're using it.
I mean, there's a ton of different ways. One is, figuring out your ideal client profile and using that to shape your marketing messaging. We do a bunch on the leasing, on the rent collection side, and on the maintenance triage side. So we've implemented artificial intelligence that when we get a work order in, you'll get a text message as a resident saying, hey, this is Tom. I'd like to triage, help me understand what's going on, and we can maybe triage something. So if we can get to the root cause of a maintenance issue before we ever send out a technician, we may have images of the system that's broken. So let's just stick on HVAC because we've been using it so far. Tom will say, can I get a picture of your thermostat? Can I get a picture of your clean filter? And can I get a picture of the outside condensing unit? And if there's brush and growth around the outside condensing unit, they'll say, have you tried cutting back that stuff? Because if it's not getting enough air circulation, it's not going to work. If the filter is dirty or hasn't been cleaned, the tenant's obviously going to clean that filter. They're going to put in a new filter before they send a photo, which is a great first step. If the thermostat is showing something crazy, Tom may be able to triage what the issue may be. And if nothing else, Tom says, hey, I think your system's frozen up. You're right. It's the middle of summer and there's something wrong. Can you turn your fan to on and your system to off so that when the maintenance technician, when the AC technician gets there, they don't have to wait for the system to thaw an hour? What does that do? It saves the HVAC technician from having to wait there for an hour, which is not really productive time. They can bill it, but that's not what they want to be doing. It saves our owner a ton of time because they don't have to pay for an hour of the HVAC technician's time. They can get in, fix it immediately, and move on with their day, and our owner pays less money. That's just, that's just good math all around. And if it's something that's more complex, whether it's a leak, it's a toilet issue, bubbling up dirty water from a shower or whatever, he'll just kind of triage it. And he does a good job of making sure that if an outlet's not working, that, the breaker's been flipped, that we've checked all the options, or other outlets working, so that by the time the technician gets there, they have a good idea of what they're looking at.
That's sweet. Where do you feel like you could be using AI that you're not? You're like, maybe I think there's an AI for this, but I just haven't really found it yet.
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I will say on the last question, our sales team uses Yoni, who runs sales and marketing, is really, really keen on AI. And so he's condensed all of our marketing stuff, our property management agreement, the Oklahoma landlord tenant law, a ton of stuff into this little AI platform that he uses. And then he downloads the sales calls from each of his salespeople. He runs it through there, and it gives immediate feedback on what they did well and what they could do better. And he'll listen to parts of the calls that'll give him specific timestamps of what he should listen to. He can listen to that, and he can do what he used to do by listening to a half-hour call. He can do it in a minute. So that's another way that we're using it. What could we be doing better? I feel like I'm in the unknown space. Like, if I know about it, it's fairly easy for us to put it together, put it in place, and actually execute on it. I feel like what we really should be doing is creating a GPT that every property manager has access to, so that all of our PMAs are the Oklahoma landlord tenant law, and a suite of emails from 5 years of history go into a little GPT. And then when property manager puts in a question, it utilizes the entire database of that knowledge from many years of experience to give a better answer than if you're just using ChatGPT in an open, new tab.
That's sweet. Let's build it. That, in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, that sounds like a lot of fun.
It shouldn't be that hard to do that.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that hard.
I just need somebody on the team to actually execute.
Okay, Matt. So last question. All right. If you were to condense all of the things you've learned, business principles, leadership, whatever, what would be the one thing that you would leave an audience with? Like, what's one principle or thing that you feel very strongly about from your business career?
It comes directly from Bob Berg's book, The Go-Giver. I mean, give more value than you extract. Very simply.
So give more value than you take and pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. Like, when we started this thing, it was, I don't know, bring me your tired, your weary, your poor. Like, whatever situation you're in will help you. And we have former Miss Tulsa, Candace Alcott. When we first met, her husband was deployed. She had 2 young kids. She came into our office just like almost in tears. And she had 2 duplexes or 3 duplexes, and most of them weren't paying rent, and she didn't know the eviction process. And I looked at her and I said, Candace, it shouldn't be this hard. Like, pass them over to me, let me do my thing. And before long, we had moved on from the tenants that weren't paying rent. We had re-rented them to good people. It was a stabilized portfolio, and they've since gone on to buy 15 or 18 additional properties. So, like, whatever we can do to help, we will do to help. If that means that we're going to manage them, great. If it means, I got a call yesterday from somebody who said, I was trying to have my mother-in-law assume the loan on the house that I'm living in so I could live in a different house that we've already moved into, but she doesn't qualify on a DTI. And he said, will you help me rent it? And I said, well, here's another 3 ideas about how you could get your mother-in-law into the house without us renting it. That one house is not going to make or break my year. I'd rather just give somebody my solid experience here about how you can get to your objective without any benefit to myself. Just let's just do what's right by you. And that's how we started this thing. And that's what makes me feel good.
That's awesome. So you operate in 7 different markets. What are the markets besides Tulsa?
Oklahoma City, Wichita, Northwest Arkansas, Kansas City, St. Louis, Indianapolis.
Carmel, guys, specifically Carmel. If you are thinking about buying property in any of those areas, or maybe you have some or know someone that does, make sure you reach out to Matt and his team, and they'll get you taken care of. Matt, where can people go if they want to find out more?
KeyRenter PMC, like propertymanagementcompany.com, and that'll take you to a landing page that can get you access to any of our individual property pages. People can email me directly, Matt, M-A-T, at KeyRenterPMC.com. I'm always available, and you can take it from there.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Don't go anywhere because I want to keep talking, but thanks for coming on the show.
Andrew, thanks for having me.